Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A very interesting question that came my way is that Iblis Shaitan, he is from the jinn. Why was he hanging out with the angels when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told angels that I'm about to create a human being? And that will be the Khalifa. Well, let me give you something that is my understanding. I'm just telling you earlier on that this is my understanding. Looking at the circumstantial evidences, this is what my understanding is. You have to go back when jinns were very pious, jinns were following all the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were the Khalifa on this planet Earth and maybe beyond. We don't know where till what limitations they had, because they have their own realm. And then there came a point where they became rebellious, when they reached a point where they started disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And according to some books, there have been prophets that were sent to jinns from among jinns, and then they denied those prophets. There were some kings, good kings, that were raised among jinns, and one of the names that comes in some of the books that talk about the history of jinns, again, these are some historical evidences. We do not have any citations behind them. These statements have come in different books about a king by the name of Yusuf that was among the jinns, and they denied him. There were massive fights within the jinns too, because we see in Surah Al-Jinn that the jinns, when are talking among themselves, they are basically saying that just like humans, we have jinns who follow different religions, and they have different thoughts and understandings. And just like humans have different designations, jinns have different designations. Like they have ulama, they have fuqaha, they have reciters, and they have huffaz, and they have muhaddith. I mean, all of these things they have. And similarly, if they are Christian jinns, they would have priests and bishops and whatever. And if they are Jewish, then they would have the rabbis. If they're Hindus, they probably may have pundits. I don't know. I mean, so things of that nature. So jinns, of course, there were good jinns and there were bad jinns, and there was a split between the jinns. And it's quite possible, again, these are my analysis, that the good jinns were so less in number, and the bad jinns were so massive in number, that they were constantly oppressing the good jinns. And there came a point that maybe from among the good jinns was the family of Iblis, and his name, as comes in the books, is Azazil. So Azazil is the name I will use for now in context, that he and his family, or maybe he himself, is so pious and religious. And in some of the books it is also mentioned that he was so obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so pious, that he did not leave a single spot on the surface of the earth where he did not prostrate it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was so pious, so spiritually elevated, so obedient, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when sent angels to fight the bad jinns, the shaitan, who is Azazil, as I told you, we'll continue to use Azazil for now, he might have stood along with angels on the side of the angels fighting the bad jinns. Also, it is mentioned that Azazil led army of angels when they were fighting against the jinns, because he knew their tactics, he knew them inside out. And it is quite possible that there was a group of jinns that he was leading, the good jinns, along with the angels, as they were being led by the angels. From within the angels, an angel general, and from the jinns, it was Azazil, the general, and they were fighting alongside against a common enemy, which was the bad jinns. And the bad jinns were defeated and were sent out into the mountains, sent out into the islands. And I believe I've already told you about that. When you're talking about the mountains and the islands, do not confine yourself to planet Earth. Okay, we have talked about that in great detail when we're talking about portals, when we're talking about the water and the Dajjal and the presence of water in different places. We talked about that in great detail before, so I don't want to go into it again. So this is my understanding, that when the war was over, because of his piety, because of his service, because of his obedience, because of his spiritual elevation, he started to hang out with the angels that he fought alongside with. And then while he was hanging out with them, he continued to be obedient. He continued to be more obedient, more submissive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where spiritually he gained a status where he used to hang out with angels, to a level where he was given permission to enter the heavens. And somewhere down the road, he might have somewhere in him this little spark that I am pious, I am obedient. So if the reinstatement of the jinns would take place, it has to take place because we are good jinns, and then I should lead them. So this I factor might have arose in him somewhere. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them that there will be a different being that will become the caliph, it might have sparked him further. We will talk about that discussion if you're interested in more detail some other time. But this is my understanding that this is how he started hanging out with angels, and he was honored by giving him some titles that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him, and he appeared spiritually like them. He was with them. He was a learned, obedient servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was alim, and he was abid, and he basically had very insightful conversations with knowledge and depth, and then he was very obedient. But then this was the game changer that came when Adam alayhi salam was announced. And again, if you're interested, we can start digging into that, so that it just opens a window or a horizon, so that you can think in that direction. Because when you are going through Quran, when you're going through a hadith, it's just not a story. There's rationality to it, but there are philosophical angles, there are psychological angles, there are social angles, there are political angles, there's leadership angle, there is a spiritual angle, and then there are the inside spiritual level diseases, outside diseases, which are apparently open to the naked eye. So all of these factors are there. And the response system, the conversation, the dialogues that took place between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Azazil, all of that, you have to literally sit there and analyze the statements and the words. It is just beautiful. That's all I can say. So this is what my understanding is, that's how he got an entry point to hang out with the angels. So that's why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that, "O malaika, bow down to Adam," he was automatically inclusive, because for all these thousands and thousands of years, we don't know, he was treated like an angel. He was being treated like one. Exactly like if you adopt somebody, right, and you bring them home, and the person grows up with your son, you treat them like your son. You introduce them like your family member. So when your son and this individual is gathered, you say, "Okay, all children, come here." So this person is automatically, because of the inclusion, is included in the deal. So just for the sake of understanding, I'm trying to help you understand it. So likely when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, all the angels, he was automatically inclusive in it, because he was hanging out with them. He was sort of kind of being treated like one. So he was not hanging out with his fellow jinns as much as he was hanging out with the angels, and he had access to the entry points where normally the other jinns would not have been allowed to go. So this is my understanding as to this is how he got to where he got to. Inshallah, if you're interested, we can dive more deeper into it, because that's exactly our channel is Deep Deen on YouTube, and of course we share these videos with you on TikTok as well. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your comments in the comment section down below. It really helps us to get our next set of questions, and also help us shape, reshape. We want to hear from you too. We want to know if you're learning. We want to hear from you. That's basically is very important for us. Till next time, assalamu alaikum.